Welcome back to Sun, Sand, and Sold. I'm Josh with David Haber. David, great conversation with Russell Galbut, as we expected, as we predicted.
Very opinionated.
Very opinionated, but also,
but a brilliant guy.
And
a
50-year career with that kind of success says you get to have opinions because he's basically seen it all. I think he's
seen it all and he's done it all.
The diversity in his portfolio, saying aside just from asset type, aside from just condo hotel and multifamily and Class A, is and also cruise line and now cruise line. What struck me is when he talked about his passion projects, you could see and hear the passion that these were things about, maybe some of it's about legacy, but I think a lot of it,
it's iconic legacy.
It's
I don't want to say it's ego, but it's probably partially ego.
But that's okay. Listen,
there's nothing wrong with it. That's what the World Trade Center was. That's what one World Trade Center is about. That's what the Chrysler Building was. That's what the Empire State Building was. It was people with grand vision and the ability and the willingness to take risk and build iconic projects. And that's going to be the same thing with the courthouse project. And it's the same thing with some of these other projects that he's worked on.
I think what struck me the most in our interview with him that we talked about at the beginning of the show was the sense of community and working together. I mean, clearly he is a big believer that if you don't get all those players to the table and all rowing in the same direction, as we said, it's not going to happen, or it's not going to happen in the kind of time or the kind of way that needs to happen.
Well, sometimes Russell's opinions can put him in disfavor with certain, politicians. He'll have to work that out one way or the other, but he obviously works well with some and has worked well with some. But, when he doesn't get his way, sometimes he kicks and screams a little too much. But the reality is he gets a lot done.
I was going to say, with 2,600 projects under your belt, I think
he gets a lot done.
You've had more wins than you've had losses.
I would say he's had very few losses.
And I think I also keyed on, the idea that both from an entrepreneurial perspective as well as a developer perspective, that, you're going to make a mistake. What you don't want to do is do it twice. And clearly he's had experience in this relationship building of saying, if that road doesn't work, I'm going to take the other one, and knows whether it's a person or a policy or a government that is an obstacle is to say it doesn't mean it's insurmountable. It means we've got to take a different tack, which I actually find different because I see so many both business people and developers in this space, beating their head against a wall because they're trying the same thing over and over again.
No, Russell pivots. Yeah. I really believe he can pivot very quickly. The other thing I found interesting was on the personal side, the fact that, Russell is up at 4:30 and he's working, from home on the computer from 5 o'clock in the morning, like many driven people. And Russell is very driven. Doesn't do it for the money anymore.
Right.
Does it because he likes to stay active and wants to keep his mind active, and he likes challenges. Yep. I mean, people that are that motivated and that successful tend to, overachieve because they just have this energy that doesn't stop. They're like the ever-ready bunny. I mean, that's the way he is.
His energy definitely belies his 72 years. I mean, that's
for sure
a very different form of energy. And, look, quite frankly, and it's not to kowtow to a guest, but it's to say you wish there were more Russell Galbuts out there who were developing with that kind of instinct and that kind of tenacity, because I read it mostly as tenacity. I mean, I say whether it's ego driven, whether it's money driven by any given individual or development company, it requires tenacity because you're going to run into those obstacles.
Well, it's like, whether it was 5 Park, which I'm sure took him a long time, or whether it's Jimmy and Kenny Tate and Sergio Rock's St. Regis project up at Bahia Mar, which took 10 years, to get where.
That's tenacity.
That's tenacity. It's not giving up, not taking no for an answer. That's one of the things I think we're seeing from the developer guests that we're having on. Is I have an idea. I'm going to make it happen. I don't know how necessarily I'm going to make it happen, but I'm not going to give up until it's done.
Right.
And that's something I've seen from all of them.
And what I've also heard from all of them is when there is something that is good for them and good for the community,
win-win.
That's when they double down. That's when they say,
they absolutely,
whether you agree or disagree, this is going to happen because this is good for everybody.
And when it's good for everybody, not only do they double down, but I think they work so much harder because they realize that everybody can get something good out of it, and that it is guaranteed to be a success when everybody is rowing in the same direction and they're not fighting with the government. Instead, they're partnering with the government. And that's something you didn't see 30, 40 years ago. There were no public-private partnerships that I recall, but now it's a necessity.
Right.
It's really a necessity to have a public-private partnership.
And we've heard it down to the single-family home level, like the operators of Blue Nest that we talked to.
Yes.
We see it at the large scale.
I really like that Blue Nest buy a home with 1% down.
Amazing.
I mean, these are homeowners that could never have dreamed of owning a home.
And we've also heard it from the politicians. We've heard it from the politicians, a very similar discourse, just from the opposite side of the dais, if you will, of saying, this is what we need out of developers, because this is the vision for the future.
It's got to be win-win.
But this is what it's going to require. Absolutely. Well, fascinating conversation with him. As always, a lovely conversation with you, sir, and your lovely blue shirt. I hope you wear it.
Blue is my favorite color, and it's the favorite color of many of our guests.
I was going to say, maybe there's some success metric around that too.
I think there is.
We're going to dive into that. I'm going to ask ChatGPT after the show if blue is a success color. We heard from Blue Nest, right? That's where the Blue Nest name came from. Right. Remember, there was
Russell was big on the blue, and I think someone else was blue. And those that weren't blue were green, especially when developers talk that their favorite color is green. That's kind of funny.
Dive into that with their therapist. In the meantime, we, as always, are looking forward to our next episodes and have a lot of more exciting ones coming up. But in the meantime,
I just have to comment on the leopard print Nike sneakers with, I don't know what that is. That a figure 8 at the top?
This is my quiet rebellion out of camera, because I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to wear anything. I've been received clear instruction that I need to stay.
But I'm in love with those sneakers.
So this is the only way now. I've got some self.
What are those?
They're Nikes. I'm a little bit of a sneaker collector.
I know, but I want a pair.
Well, that's what we're going to get into. Well, listen, we will ask our listeners and viewers to please crowdfund David for his new pair of Nikes, and we'll see how that turnout comes through the next episode. In the meantime, I'm Josh Tell Me with David Haber. You've been watching Sun, Sand, and Soul. Join us as always on all of your favorite streaming services and social media platforms. We'll see you next time.